Hi everyone, and welcome to Mr. Kevin's STEM session today. Today we're going to learn about pollination, and we are going to develop a simple model that mimics the function of an animal in dispersing seeds or pollinating plants, how plants disperse seeds, and how water can help disperse seeds. So we're going to conduct those three experiments today. We're going to go over vocabulary. We're going to ask a few questions and answers. We're going to watch a video, and then we'll tie it all back up with a little Kahoot quiz. So for today's activity, we're going to need the following materials. We are going to need paper, scissors, a pencil, a paper clip, some yarn or felt, a lint roller, Velcro, seeds, could be any type of seeds, a little longer Tupperware, and some water. There's water in my mug. So again, we need the Tupperware, water, some seeds, a lint roller, Velcro, and some yarn or felt, a pencil, scissors, a paper clip, and some paper. So pause here to go gather those materials. Once you gather all those materials, you can unpause. We're going to need all of this material for 3 different activities. So pause here and gather those materials. So now that you gathered those materials, we can set them aside and we'll get back to them a little bit later. I want to review our vocabulary for today's lesson. Once I show you the words, these are the words you're going to be listening for and watching on the screen for, and then we'll define them in the end. So today's vocabulary, as you can see, we have 8 words that we're going to learn today. The first word is pollen. We're going to learn about pollen, and that's P-O-L-L-E-N, pollen. The second word is pollination, and that's P-O-L-L-I-N-A-T-I-O-N, pollination. The third word is pollinator. That's P-O-L-L-I-N-A-T-O-R. Our fourth word is disperse. D-I-S-P-E-R-S-E. Disperse. Our fifth word for today is seed. S-E-E-D. Our sixth word is seed dispersal. That's S-E-E-D-D-I-S-P-E-R-S-A-L. Seed dispersal. Our seventh word is fruit. F-R-U-I-T. Fruit. And the eighth word, our final word for today, will be fertilizer. That's F-E-R-T-I-L-I-Z-E-R. Fertilizer. So these are our 8 words. Take a look at them. So be on the lookout for these words. Listen to our lessons and in the videos, and we will define these again in the end of this lesson. So when we're done, you should be able to define these on your own, but we'll review in the end. Okay? So what we are going to learn from these activities and the video is that pollen needs to be moved from one flower to another. And animals help plants move pollen and seeds to do that. Also, wind and water help move the seeds as well. So we're talking about two things here, the seeds of the plants and the pollen of the flowers. So our first activity is, do you know, we're going to identify this. I told you what it was in the material section on what we needed, but do you know what this is? I'll demonstrate it. Have any idea? This is a lint roller. Do you know what it's used for? Most of the time it's used to get some dog fur off us or some lint off the furniture, off our clothes. But this is a perfect example of how nature, pollens in nature, pollen and seeds can stick to an animal's fur and move around. Because we already have like dog fur on us, and this will show you how that sticks to us. So let's explore a little bit. We're going to investigate how plants move seeds from one place to another. So we'll conduct two experiments today. The first one, we are going to experiment, we're going to create Velcro seeds, and we're going to place some yarn or felt, whatever you guys had, and sprinkle them around. And we're going to pretend we're like a bee and spread that. And the second one is we're going to do a water experiment with seeds and how seeds can move along. So for our first experiment, we are going to need the following materials from your pile. We're going to need yarn or felt, whatever you guys have. And we're going to need our Velcro. So you're going to take your yarn or felt, whatever, and cut them into different size pieces. The easiest way to do this, if you're using yarn, is to just fold it a couple times. And we're going to cut them up and fold again, just until you have like a few, just to demonstrate it. I'm going to also follow that with another one so you can see multiple colors. And one more time. It doesn't matter shapes or sizes here. So as you can see, I have all different shapes and sizes of yarn. I am going to, for now, just place this to the side. And then I'm going to grab my Velcro and kind of just wrap the Velcro. If you don't have Velcro, that's fine, around your two fingers. So if you don't have Velcro, like this, if you don't have Velcro, that is fine. You can go get tape. I have tape right here. So with tape, you can do the same thing. We're going to kind of get like a long piece of tape, like so. Again, we're going to take our two fingers and roll this around our two fingers with the sticky side on the outside. So we're going to do something like this. Just keep rolling. So it's not sticking to my hand because the sticky part is on the outside and the other part is on the inside. So with our other hand, we are then going to sprinkle. I'm going to use this just so you guys can see. Sprinkle the yarn around. So I have grass and little seeds. We're going to pretend these are our seeds, like so. Can you see? Okay. I'm going to pretend our finger now is a bee. Bzzz. Okay? So our bee is going to land, touch very slightly, you don't have to hit it hard, and then you see how the bee already touched it? I touched it very lightly, and I already have two pieces. So the bee, we're going to go to different flowers, pretend each one's little different flowers. All you got to do is tap it very gently. You can tap more than one side if you like. pretending. So this is a bee traveling to flower to flower. Notice how he's picking up different pollen from each of those flowers. As you can see, I have a bunch on there. But as he goes from each flower to flower, if you shake your hands hard enough, some of these will come off. And that's what happens. So we'll pretend that's the pollen. So when he picks up the pollen from one side, and he travels all the way to another one, he shakes it off or whatever as he's going to drink his nectar. The pollen from the other ones are getting on there, and he's getting more pollen on them. So with go visiting 2-3 flowers, a bee can be covered with that much pollen. Now again, the yarn is not pollen. We're just pretending that is pollen just to show you how easy it is to pick up pollen just by simply touching it. So let's move on to experiment 2. So for this one, we're going to need seeds, some water, and the Tupperware. In this demonstration, we're going to talk about seed dispersal. Like our experiment before, we talked about pollination, dispersal. So now we're going to talk about seed dispersal. So in your Tupperware, we are going to pour the water in. Make sure you guys are using a table for this. I'm just holding it because I want to show you guys. Okay, so I have a Tupperware full of water. Make sure yours is on the table. Then we're going to take any seeds that we found. You don't need a lot. I'm using sunflower seeds right now. I'm just going to take a few. I don't know if you can see. So these are the seeds that I am going to be using. So they're the actual inside of the sunflower seeds because I don't have shelled sunflower seeds. And we are going to drop these seeds on one edge of the Tupperware. So here is my Tupperware. I'm going to put the seeds in the Tupperware on one side. And you can kind of like tilt it on the side for right now. You'll see that the majority of the seeds float. So what I want is for you guys to blow gently in the water. And try to get all the seeds from one side to the other side, just by blowing them. And you'll see slowly how they disperse. I'll show you guys another video from an angle in a bit. You'll see how the seeds move from one side to the other, but they also kind of like spread apart from each other. Some of the seeds will sink down into the body of the water, to the floor of the water, and some are just going to go down and slowly wash ashore, and that's where they'll get planted and they can grow there, or some animals will pick that up or get it on their fur and carry it even further. But this is to demonstrate how both water and wind, when we were blowing, will carry the seeds downstream to another location. So I'm going to show you right now another angle of how that works. Okay guys, so here's our water again. We're going to grab our seeds and place them at the edge. Like I said, some will float, some will sink. See? And now we're going to gently blow so you can see them move from one side to another. See how the seeds started moving with a slight breeze or current? The water has moved the seeds to the other side, but it also kind of spread them apart. So these guys might be on this side of the riverbank and then hit land or wash up ashore. Same thing with this. So again, I'm just going to add a little bit more seeds so you can see it a little bit better. And I'm going to blow to this side. We can see how the seeds left, well, the ones that were floating, left from here to the other side. And see how they're still moving with the slight breeze? That is seed dispersal through wind and water. So now that we completed 2 experiments, why don't we discuss what happened scientifically? So, what happened when we tapped the tape over the felt or yarn on the seeds? And how many seeds were we able to pick up? How did you get the seeds to come off the felt or tape? And how is felt, or yarn that we use, like fur of an animal? In this case, the tape. So, let's discuss. So the tape was our bee. The yarn was the pollen. As you can see, pieces are falling off still. So we collected a lot of pollen. Now, pollen is dust, but when you break it down, they're really tiny little molecules, kind of like one grain of sand, kind of like that, but very finer. So a lot can cover a bee. And when the bee moves to the other, as you can see, pieces were falling off. So right now, it looks like, just by shaking it once, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this was like 6 pieces of pollen that rubbed off. Now, if this was an animal, the tape would have acted as the fur, and then the yarn would have been seeds. So that would have been 6 seeds that had fallen off of the fur, and he would continue to move on. If we're going to continue with the bear, and he rubbed up against some bark, rubbing his back, scratching it, there's more seeds that are going to fall off. But that might be in a different location. So that is an example of seed and pollen dispersal, when it was a bee and when it could be a bear. Now, the second experiment we talked about, what happened when the water started to move? That's right. The seeds started going at the direction of the wind or the current that was moving in the water and started slowly dispersing and spreading apart. So they were moving from one location to another. Where they'll end up, we don't know. And it just happens. How would seeds get to land and start to grow? So what would happen is these seeds would get pushed along the river and current. And I'm just going to use I'll just use these. So the seeds will float along, and some will stay behind and get pushed up on what we call a land bank. And that's the side of the rivers. And they would get stuck up there. And they can grow right there. Or the wind, if they were light enough, can blow it even further. Or some animals, it would stick to them and they would carry it to another location. Some other seeds will follow the current and go out into the ocean, like the coconuts. Coconuts can float in the ocean, and that's what happens. When you get a lot of coconut trees on the islands, is because the coconuts float for a very long time, and they're floating on the ocean, and then they wash up on shore. And they start growing. They might get picked up by an animal or a storm or another wind to get them pushed farther on to shore. And they will grow there. So that was 2 different processes with pollination and seed dispersal, whether through animals, include humans in that, and nature, like water and rain. So before we begin the video, I'm going to ask a few questions to see what we already know. So let me bring up these questions. So, what is pollen? And have you ever seen pollen before? The answer is pollen is a powdery substance found inside of flowers that are needed to make seeds. We all have seen flowers with the yellow that the bees are always collecting and all that. That is pollen. You can also see pollen on your windowsill when the seasons change. You just wipe mine. You can see a little bit. I just wiped my windowsill because I have my window open. And that's what it is. You see the tree pollen. It could be green. It could be yellow. It covers our cars once in a while. So we see it a lot. And some of us are actually allergic to it. So what is a pollinator? And what are examples of some pollinators? A pollinator is an animal that moves from one flower to another, spreading the pollen and spreading to different flowers and different trees. Perfect examples of this are bees, butterflies, and birds are great examples of pollinators. Our third question is, how do animals help move seeds from one place to the other? Well, some animals carry seeds that get stuck to their fur, like we did in our experiment. Other animals eat fruit, and when they eat the fruit, the seeds get squirted out. Same thing with humans. Sometimes we do that as well. We'll spit seeds out and leave them on the ground, and they'll grow. There are different ways the fruits get spread, just like one might spit it out and it might land in like the creek or the river and go downstream, and hopefully it hits land, and that's where the plant will stay and grow. Besides animals, what else helps move seeds from one place to another? Like I said before, both water and wind can move seeds. A coconut can float in the ocean, and dandelion uses the wind to move its seeds. We always had that little white wishy thing, that's the dandelion, and you blow, and it disperses all those little seeds. They're seeds. So the wind will carry them, and they can travel up to 5 miles from where it was, wherever you blew the seed. Our other question is, why do plants need help moving their seeds from one to another? They need their seeds to grow in new places. It might be too shady, right where the seed falls from the plant. Plants can't walk or move around, so it's good that these animals help move it, and the wind and everything. An example would be I'm going to use my arm. If this is a tree, and a seed falls down by its trunk, it won't get enough sunlight because the top of the tree is shading where the seed is. Or there might be other plants around there, so it might not get enough shade or sunlight or water because the tree and the other plants are soaking up the water around the roots. Our last question before the video is, how does water help move seeds? Some seeds float on water and move from one place to another. Like we said, a coconut floats on the ocean. Other kinds of seeds can float and move in lakes, rivers, ponds, and that's how they get dispersed. So right now we are going to watch a quick video on pollination, and you'll see some of our experiments that we already did in this program as well. We will also do one of the experiments in the program on the seed falling from the tree, and you guys will see that, and then we'll do that exercise a little bit later. Okay, enjoy the video.
Welcome to 3-2 Wonder. Did you know that plants inspired people to invent Velcro? Well, I'm Dr. Jeff, and today we're gonna learn about pollination and seed dispersal. Let's explore. Today, we'll learn that animals can help plants move pollen around, and that wind, water, and animals help plants move their seeds.
3, 2, wonder! Yeah! 3, 2, wonder! Hey! Let's go! 3, 2, wonder!
Hey, Dr. Jeff, what are you doing?
Hi, Dr. Jeff.
Hey, Elijah. Hey, Olivia. I'm just taking care of my plant, Leaf Erikson. And you probably remember its parent, Twiggy.
Wait, so that plant is that plant's parent? How does that work?
I'm glad you asked. Plants are today's topic. For a plant to make a new plant, it has to move a special powder called pollen from inside its flower to the flower of another plant. Once that happens, the plant grows fruit, which has seeds inside. Those seeds can grow into a new plant.
But a plant can't move. How does it move its pollen and seeds?
Yeah, it's not like plants have legs because that would be freaky.
You're right. So to move their pollen, plants get help from the wind and animals.
Really? I can see how wind can blow this pollen, but how do animals help?
To find out how pollen moves around, let's go into our imagination. Follow me. Ready? Here we go. In 3, 2, wonder!
Pretty, but
Gesundheit.
something in our imagination is making me sneeze.
I think I might know what's causing that. Look over here.
It looks like an ordinary flower. I don't see what's making Elijah
Gesundheit.
sneeze.
Take a look inside this flower.
What are all those brown dots inside the flower?
That's pollen. Pollen is the powdery substance that is needed for plants to make seeds. Plants need to move this pollen from one plant to another plant in order to make more plants.
But how do plants move their pollen?
Great question. Let's demonstrate together. We just put a little bit of pollen on our finger like this. And now we move this pollen to another plant over here. Now we just take the pollen and put it right here. Congratulations! We are now pollinators!
But what are pollinators?
Pollinators are animals that move pollen from one flower to another. Some pollinators are birds, butterflies, and even bees. When bees land on a flower to drink nectar, pollen sticks to their bodies. When the bee visits the next flower, that pollen can rub off, transferring pollen from one plant to another.
Wow, so it's like plants and animals help each other.
Yeah, plants give the animals nectar to drink, and the animals help move their pollen.
That's exactly right. But did you know that animals also help plants move their seeds?
Animals sure are helpful, huh?
Definitely. To learn how animals move seeds, let's go back to the lab.
Hold on. Why do seeds need to be moved? Can't they just drop into the dirt and grow?
If seeds fall under another plant, they might not get enough sunlight or water because other plants already there are blocking them. So plants need help moving their seeds. This is called seed dispersal. One way seed dispersal happens is when animals eat fruit with seeds in it.
How would a seed be able to grow if an animal eats it?
Let's take a look inside this fruit.
This apple has seeds inside.
Here you go. touch the apple seed. It has a special coating on it that lets them pass right through an animal when it eats it.
I get it. First, an animal like a bear or a bird eats the fruit, then it moves somewhere else, carrying the seeds in its belly.
And then the animal poops the seeds out into a new area.
So, the vegetables I ate today started in a pile of poop?
Some of them did. Animal poop is actually a great fertilizer, which is something that helps plants grow.
Wow, so all plants rely on animals to move their seeds.
Many plants do, but some plants have other ways. Let's demonstrate. Some plants have seeds that look a lot like Velcro.
Whoa! They have tiny hooks that stick to the fur of animals.
Let's say Olivia is a seed, and this wall behind us is a furry animal. The seed gets stuck to the fur because of the special hooks on the surface of the seed.
That animal then moves somewhere else, and the seed falls off where the new plant grows.
What?
Plants also use wind to move seeds, like a dandelion.
Or they can use water, like a coconut that floats far away to bring seeds to an island.
Or my favorite, expulsion.
What's expulsion?
It's when some seeds build up pressure inside, and then they burst. The seeds are launched away from the plant, landing somewhere else.
Plants can explode? Who cares if they can grow on a pile of poop? Plants are awesome.
And now that you know about pollen and seeds, it's time to do it yourself.
Today, we're going to study seed dispersal by making a model of a maple seed.
Maple seeds fall off maple trees and spin like a helicopter towards the ground.
Wind or an animal might help take it to the perfect spot of soil where it can grow into a giant maple tree.
To make a model of a maple seed, you're going to need some printer paper, a pair of safety scissors, a pencil, and a paper clip.
Start by folding the paper in half like this.
Now fold it in half the other way. Then, with the help of an adult, cut along the lines.
Cut out one rectangle so you have a small piece of paper. Next, draw two cutting lines so we can make a piece of paper shaped like the letter T.
Then, cut along the lines.
Next, snip the middle of the T right here.
Now it's time to fold. Fold each flap over like this. On the top side, fold one piece down in one direction and the other piece down in the opposite direction. Raise them gently until they're straight like propellers.
Then, fold over this part of the T twice and attach the paper clip.
And now it's time to test our model maple seeds.
Awesome!
Experiment with heavier paper clips and different sized paper to see which of your seeds can glide the longest and move the farthest away. Try it yourself.
Animals help plants to move, pollen around. Wind, water, and animals help plants move their seeds. That's how we have pollination and seed dispersal. That's how we have pollination and seed dispersal. The seed sticks to the animal's fur as they move around. Rains, winds, and you and me help plants move their seeds.
let's review.
Today, we learned that animals help plants to move pollen around.
Wind, water, and animals also help plants move their seeds.
And now you know. Until next time, I'm Dr. Jeff.
I'm Elijah.
I'm Olivia.
And remember, always question, always wonder.
now that we watched the video, let's review some questions to see if we comprehended what we learned today. So I'm going to bring up the questions. The first question is, how does a bee help move pollen? Well, pollen sticks to that bee while it drinks the nectar, and when the bee travels from one plant to another to drink more nectar, the pollen rubs off his body and into the new flower. Our second question, how does an animal's fur help move seeds from one to another? Some seeds stick to animals' fur, like we did with our lint roller experiment, as well as the Velcro experiment. When the animal moves from one area to the other, the seeds could fall off and the animal scratches or rub against something, like a bear rubbing against the bark of the tree, or just does a shake. The seeds come off then. The third question that I'm going to ask is, what are some examples of pollinators? Do you remember? Some of them are bees, birds, and butterflies. They're great examples of pollinators. Anything that moves pollen from one place to another is considered a pollinator. Let's go with our fourth question. Our fourth question is, why might seeds not grow if they fall right next to the tree? Remember that example I showed you with my arm? It may not get enough sunlight. Since other plants are around, the tree might be blocking that sunlight. The roots growing in that spot by the tree and the surrounding plants will take up most of the water, the rainwater that falls, so that seed won't get a lot of water that it needs to grow because there's already mature plants. Our fifth question. How are some seeds like Velcro? They have structures that have little hooks that stick to other materials, like a dog's fur. You saw in the video how some seeds have like little tiny hairs, and they stick. What's one way that a maple seed moves from one place to another? Well, a maple seed looks like a propeller and glides down slowly as it falls. If it's windy, it can travel away from its parent tree. And that's the experiment that we are going to do next. You'll see they look like little helicopters as they fall. I remember growing up playing with these, and we would open the seeds and put them on our nose because they looked like a little witch nose. So we're not going to do the experiment with the seeds, but we're going to make something very similar on how the seed disperses itself from its parent tree. So those are the questions. So why don't we jump in on this project of creating the maple seed. Okay guys, it's time for our DIY experiment. We are going to need the following items that we already gathered in the beginning of the lesson. For this project, we are going to need a piece of paper, a pair of scissors, a pencil, and a paper clip. Again, we are going to need a piece of paper, scissors, a pencil, and a paper clip. So grab these 4 items from your stack of materials and let's get started. So step 1 in our DIY is to take our piece of paper and we are going to fold it in half like this. Okay, so once I use my table, we're going to fold it in half. Make sure we crease that line. So it's half right here. And then we're going to fold it in half one more time. This way. And then make sure we get a good crease on all of them. On all of the sides. Because the better the crease, the more aerodynamic it becomes. So this is what step 1 should look like when it's done. So when you have your paper that we started out with, we folded it in half, like so, and then we folded it in half one more time to get this. Once you get this, we are going to unfold, and you'll see that we have 4 equal rectangles. We're going to cut one of them out. And the best way to do that is to follow these lines as our guidelines. So we're just going to cut one rectangle out with your parents' help and permission. Let's cut one of these rectangles out. Be careful when you cut, not to hurt yourself. Okay, for this one, we could just put to the side. All we need is one little rectangle. And that would be our step 2. So all I did was cut out one rectangle. We cut out that rectangle, and we just need the one. If I'm moving too fast, you guys can pause the video and catch up. So once we have our rectangle, we're going to sketch a thick letter T, a capital T, on the paper. And I will show you guys what that looks like right now. So if we hold our paper like this, you don't have to hold it up, but on the ground, long ways, or on the table, sorry. We're just going to draw 2 lines to make the capital T. So I kind of like my stuff even. So I'm going to go like that. Doesn't look kind of even to me, so let me... So I drew 2 lines like that on each side, and I left space in the middle of the paper. Try to make them as even. So that would be the top of the T, and then we're going to draw 2 more lines going down. Like so. They don't have to be straight or anything, just try to make them as straight as possible. We're just eyeing this up. Sorry for the noise, someone's mowing their lawn. So what you have now is, it looks like a capital T on our paper. So now that we have our T, we are going to, again with our parents' permission, we are going to cut along these guidelines. Okay, and if one side's uneven than the other, we can fix that. But first we're going to cut along those guidelines. Like so. So now I have the letter T, and if it's uneven, we can check that out. The best way to see that is without folding it, is to kind of eye it up like this, like not like creasing it, but folding it in half, and I see that this side is a little longer. You can see that. I could just trim that off so they're equal. And And now I have an equal-sided T. So that is that. So now I am going to snip the middle of the top of the T. And I'm going to cut right to where this line is. See how like these go here? Pretend there's an imaginary line going across. And we're going to cut right to there, down to the center. So I'm going to hold it this way just to show you guys. Like that. So all I did was just snip a line in the middle of my T, as you can see. And that is that step. So that's step 4. Again, we cut the T out, and then we made sure the T was even by just kind of folding over to see what overlapped and cut the excess off, and we had our T. And then we're going to snip right down the center to the center of these points here, like so, as you can see. Okay, so now I have a cutted T. Now I'm going to fold the right side in one direction and then the left side in another direction. So I'm going to take the right side and fold it down. So I'm going to make sure I get a nice even thing. Make sure you crease that up. So that's what I mean by folding it that way. And then this one, you're going to fold in the other direction. So I'm not going to fold it the same way as the one I just did, but we're going to fold it in the opposite direction. So I'm going to pull the left tab towards myself. You have that. I have a little bit of excess that I want to cut off. Okay. And then just gently push it up, and then I have something that looks like that, folded. So it kind of looks like a helicopter. Okay, again, I'll show you one more time. We cut a snippet of the top of the T down to the little center here. And then I took the right side and folded it away from me, down, like so. And then I took the left side and folded it towards me. So they're not the same direction. So see how it does that? And then once I'm done, I'm going to gently push up, and this is what it should look like. Again, I'll hold it this way just so you can see which ways you're folding. Now that we have that, we're going to raise those flaps gently so it now looks like a helicopter. Again, if I'm moving too fast, guys, pause the video and try to catch up. Now I'm going to fold the bottom part of the T, which is this part, up about 1 centimeter, like so. So I folded it up a little bit. As you can see, it doesn't matter which way you're folding it up. I took the bottom of the T and folded it up a little bit, like 1 centimeter. Make sure you get that crease in there. I'm going to push down on the ground because I want a strong, solid crease. Like so. So see, you can see I folded that right there. I folded it. So now that we have it folded, we're going to fold it again, a little bit bigger this time, like so. So again, we folded it up once, fold it up again, and we have that paper clip handy, and we're just going to paper clip that fold right in the middle, like so. So back to the T, we folded our T's. Then we took the bottom of the T, we folded it once, we folded it twice. Then we're going to take our paper clip and paper clip the center of it. Make sure our wings are gently slightly up like that. This is what this looks like. Our paper clip, and now there's some weight to it to make it fall. So our experiment now is we're going to go somewhere high, you go to the top of your steps and throw it down, or lean over your steps and drop it. So the video, that was really quick, you can't see. What's going to happen is when you drop it, we're going to see it slowly spin like a helicopter like this. And that's how a maple seed falls, because a maple seed has a little propeller and it comes down like a helicopter. So why don't we take this for a spin? Now here's a challenge for you. I want you to play with different ways on how seeds can move. So you don't have to use real seeds. Again, we can use the yarn or whatever materials that we have lying around our house. Don't go out and buy anything. It's whatever we have, Legos, whatever. And try different ways on how they can move. Stick them in water and blow. Let's try to blow with our mouths to get them to move. Let's try blowing up a balloon and squeezing the air out of that. We can also do that by not sticking in water and just placing it on the ground and blowing it. And there are examples of how seeds can move. So I challenge you guys to play around with that. Take your time and experiment with what moves and what not, and other ways you can move things. Also take in the fact that if this is a bunch of seeds and it landed here and this is a hill, it might roll down the hill. So that's another way that it can get dispersed. Think of many ways that you can. Come up with anything. We'd like to see it, so take a picture or write in the comment section on what you guys did to experiment with seed dispersal. We want to hear from you. So share that in your Class Dojo portfolio or just comment in this lesson experiment. Okay? It's time for our review. So we're going to wrap up by doing our vocabulary review. Remember these words that I showed you in the beginning of our lesson. Now we should be able to see the words, recognize them, somewhat know how to spell them, and be able to define these. So let's review this. Our first word that we're going to define is pollen. Now pollen is a powder found inside flowers that is needed to make new plants. That's pollen. Pollination. Sorry. Pollination is the process of moving pollen from one flower to the other. A pollinator. A pollinator is any person that moves pollen from one plant to another. So we have the powdery substance, the process, and the person that causes that process. So we're going to talk about our next word, and our next word is dispersal. Dispersal just means to spread around. So the process of pollination is the spread around. Now, our next word, number 5, is seed. Seed is the part of the plant that grows into new plants, kind of like a baby. Our 6th word is seed dispersal. Now, seed dispersal is the process of moving seeds from one place to another. Just like pollination, when we're moving our pollen, we are doing that with the seed dispersal. Now, fruit. Fruit is a part of the plant that contains the seeds. Fruit is anything that has seeds. And our last word is fertilizer. Now, fertilizer is a substance that helps plants grow, giving them the extra nutrients they need to become big and strong. So these are vocab words. We defined them, and hopefully you guys know them now and will be able to recognize them. So that's it for me today, guys. But we're not done, so make sure you guys click on the link in the lesson post for the Kahoot quiz. All you gotta do is just click on the link and it will send you straight to the quiz, and you can play on your tablet, on your phone, on your screen, whatever you're using to watch these videos. After that, then you guys are done for the day. Hope you enjoyed this science lesson with Mr. Kevin. Bye, guys.